morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Sandy Bottom Homestead. Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. It is a good day because you get to see one of two things. One, how disorganized I can be. I'm sure this is going to be a cluster. And two, we're going to start some seeds. We're going to start our fall seeds today. I told you it was coming, and today is the day. Now, to be exact, I believe, well, I know for one, we're starting seeds for this bed, which is I just put some basil in this bed, and I'm literally using it as partial cover crop. I'm using this bed to help my bees out. So the basil will provide pollen for them, and then we're also going to, hopefully in the next couple of days, going to be seeding with buckwheat, and we're just going to let it grow for about probably 6 to 8 weeks, and then we're going to cut it all back and plant right in there. And then we're also probably, I haven't decided which bed here, but either this bed or this bed we're planning for. So my fall garden plan is in the works, you could say, but I need to get it more hammered out. So right now I know the timeline in which these things are going to go in. It's just when is the space going to be available. And I can also go back, because I use the planter app, which we advertise on our podcast all the time. We're going to be using that, so I can go back and look at what I had done the years before in the garden, stuff like that. But it's important that we realize right off the bat, I am not starting all of my seeds for fall today. I'm just starting like the first wave of seeds. It goes just like spring. So I tried to get everything ready today, and I missed one key component. We're gonna start these 2 trays. I don't know, we might just start 1 tray today. And then we've got our soil, but I don't know where my perlite is. Perlite, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. I don't care, you know what I'm talking about. So I've got to find that, because that is a key component. And I'm actually switching things up this year in the way I'm doing this, and I'll explain that to you in just a second. There's my perlite. You think that's a big enough bag? Good night. I'll never run out, I'll tell you that much. It may be a little deceiving, but that's how big that bag of perlite is. I got it for like 20 bucks, man. I can't go wrong. I won't have to buy perlite for years. I use it for everything. You need drainage, I add it. You need moisture retention, I add it. It doesn't matter. Perlite is everything. But as I've said in most of my seed starting videos, it's crucial for the way I start my seeds. I had to go dig my trowel out of the garden. I accidentally buried it the other day, and then I knew where it was, and I had to go pull it out. So it's always something, you know what I mean? And I've got this bag of soil here that I am a little bit paranoid to stick my hand in, because it's been closed up and I don't know what's in there. So I'm going to use a trowel instead of my hand today. But so you know, in the past couple of videos, we're having a drought, and it's starting to get a little bit serious here. So I'm going to use it, I think, maybe to my advantage. And so you can see I'm standing up back here at my seed starting station, and it's in the shade. And I'm going to use this to my advantage, because I feel like this sounds weird, but in my house, I think it's a little too warm. I think it's a combination of the warmth and the, because the air conditioner is running, it's a little bit dry. So I think my seeds tend to struggle this time of year. So what I'm going to try and do this year is I'm actually going to start them outside in seed trays, see how this works. If it doesn't work well, we'll definitely move them, but we'll see how it goes. So I've got 2 beds that I'm planting. I'm going to monocrop them, and in just a second I'll show you the seeds. What I'm doing this year as well is I'm trying to go through all of my old seeds and just work my way through them. As they get older, I want to cycle them out. So I'm doing that, and this should finish out most of them. But what we've got is, okay, first of all, plant tags, marker, check. Here we go. So I've got my hybrid Brussels sprouts. So as you know, the last year was the first time in 5 years I was able to get a harvest off of my Brussels sprouts, which I was impressed with, I was happy for. So this year is all about just hammering that home. And the big change we made is we started growing hybrids. So I've got a little bit of this Sylvia and Gladius. Is that right? Yep, Gladius Brussels sprouts. So we'll be growing those. And then my first round of cabbage, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish out this golden acre I have. And then the next round that we get, we're gonna do, in our seed shop, we're selling flat Dutch, early flat Dutch cabbage. So that'll be my second round that I'm doing. So in theory, this first round of cabbage would be what I hope to harvest before winter really sets in. So we hope to be getting fresh cabbages out at the time we're supposed to, and not really overwintering them in the garden like we have in the past. The thing I'm starting to do is use the back of my marker to make my dimples. Keeps my fingers a little bit cleaner, because as you know, when you start grabbing the seeds, it gets a little bit tough. So I'm just trying to maybe make it a little bit easier. We'll see how it goes. But what I do is I make these dimples, and then I just drop the seed in, and I do not cover them with soil. I cover them with perlite. And I know I've done videos about this in the past, and the reason why I'm saying it again is because we're always getting new subscribers, which I truly am thankful for. Thank you guys for coming and subscribing to this channel and watching me fumble my way through a gardening season, every gardening season, because we attempt to do a year-round garden here in coastal North Carolina. So we're just gonna get this started, and I'm gonna tell you, once I get these seeds in, I'll come back and I'll tell you why this drought is actually gonna help us with this. Okay, so it's funny, I had enough of the Gladius to do one whole tray. So I'm gonna save the Sylvia Brussels sprouts for next year, or if I have to reseed. And then I had enough seeds to do exactly one tray of the golden acre cabbage. So I'm just gonna do 2 trays, and that's gonna make it easier because I can move them around as needed. If one tray needs to come in, fine. If one tray needs to come out, fine. It doesn't matter. But being that each vegetable is in its own tray is actually going to make it a lot easier. I did have some issues with that over the spring, and I knew better. What I did is I put eggplants and lettuce in the same seed tray. Well, you know what happened. The lettuce needed to come out, the eggplants needed to stay in. Never really worked out that way. So it's just, you know, again, learning process, going through it. But let me show you about the perlite real quick. So it's real simple. It helps retain moisture. So you can see the seed is just sitting in the cell, and then we're just gonna sprinkle it on, and that will help trap the moisture. But also what will happen is, because perlite is so light, that it will not impede the seed from coming out of the surface. And I've had really good luck with these for the past couple of years. So this is like my preferred and really my only method that I use. And again, I just take it and just kind of rub it through my fingers. And you don't want to pile it up real high, but you definitely want to put a good healthy dose on there. And so what I'll do is, you can see it's kind of uneven. So then I'll just come and lightly rub my hand over it just to work it in all those dimples that the seeds are in. And then this will help keep it moist. Because you know, moisture is key to everything when it comes to starting a seed. Which brings me to the drought. So why is this gonna help me? So last year I played around with starting seeds outside. So first of all, what I do is I keep them in the shade, and it's nice and quiet out here. It's shady. So if it's 95 degrees outside, it'll be roughly 85, which this cabbage, for instance, the soil temp range is 55 to 85. So if I can keep it around 85 degrees, if I keep it a little bit on the warmer side, it'll germinate much faster. So that, it really does help. And I've seen this where I'll plant a seed and then boom, it'll pop. So, you know, usually it's 7 to 10 days for these seeds. We may actually get germination in 3 to 4 days because of the temperatures. But the drought portion, Leaving it outside is nice because it's not going to get, especially in this stage right now where the seed is going to be coming up, it's not going to, the rain will not come and pound that seed down and compact that soil in the seed cell. So it kind of works out. I just have to be really diligent about staying on top of it. And so the benefit is right now, again, because of the drought and because I started seeds, because I have to come out here and water this popcorn bed every day. And right now we're doing the same for this bed because we have the basil seeds in, but we're also going to be putting the buckwheat. So for the next week or two, we're going to be out here and just 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, just wetting the surface of the soil. I'm going to be able to drag my hose out there and make sure that I can get these seeds nice and moist and keep them that way, because it will dry out mighty quick in these temperatures. So what I'll do is I'll start them in deep shade. So out here, so right up against the shed here on the potting station, this is where it gets basically shed all day. See a little bit of dappled sunlight right here, and that's about as much as it's gonna get. Now I have a couple options. I can end up moving it here where it's gonna end up getting more shade or more sun, excuse me. So I can, you know, I'll move this bag of soil out of the way, whatever, and then I can put them right there. Or I also have another table out back here that you can put on the seedlings on, and they'll get even more sun. It's still not a full day's worth of sun, but I don't think it needs to be a full day's worth of sun. There's places on my back porch as well that get mostly morning sun. So what that means is when it's going to be 95 plus degrees, we're going to be getting that cooler morning sun, and then in the afternoon we'll get the shade, and that'll help these cool weather crops really go. But we have, let's see, it's about the 20th of June today, so July 20th, August 20th, that's August 20th is 8 weeks from today. And so right around then, we should really be looking at, hey, we need to start planting in the ground so that they can get comfortable out here and really get going and get to where they can start to get comfortable. As it starts to cool, they can start going, because August 20th is still not cool here by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, in coastal North Carolina, we're looking, if you want to say cool weather, you're going to have to look towards October. But you're gonna start getting cooler and cooler days. And so when we put them out here, not only are we gonna plant them, but then we're gonna add shade on top of it. So we'll be able to lower that temperature more. So again, in those days where it's 95 degrees, and you have to remember, if you're new to the channel, the majority of the sun, especially for these two beds, comes when the sun tracks over here. So it goes from here over. That's going to be really hot sun. That's that type of sun that you do not want to go out inside. You know, you can stay outside, you're like, oh God, it's just miserable, I hate it. Well, that's the kind of sun that it is. So we keep that shade on top of it, and it's going to block that heat. But as the sun comes up here, see, the sun tracks like this all the way around. And this time of year, it tracks like way up. So we get morning sunlight back here as well. So it actually works out pretty good. The problems come in around October, November, December, when we start getting really low levels of light. And really the only light that this gets is that afternoon time when it goes across. But we're far off from that. I'm not even gonna worry about it. But that's why we want to get this stuff in the ground now, so we can anticipate that lower sun angle and the less sun that it's gonna get. Uh-oh. You see how light that is? It just blows off. And the first time you water your perlite, it will blow off, but I just use the mister and just as gently as I can get that water on there and really saturate it, especially that first time. You want to start off on a good foot. Don't be cheap with the water. I have rain barrels, but I am conserving my rain barrel water for when it is just, you know, we're not, like I said, we're not forecasted to get any definite rain for a couple weeks. At this point, the 10-day forecast says no rain, chances above 40%. and most of them are 5 to 10% for the next 10 days. So we're conserving that water for our chickens and stuff like that, and the bees as well. So we're just gonna make sure that we miss this really good today. Another thing I'll say too is when you're watering something and it's on like a wood surface or something, and it gets wet, it's called wetting down. And this will actually help keep it cooler as well, because as that water evaporates, it'll cool the air around it. And it's just a little bit of help. So my question to you is, what are you starting first for your fall garden? Because this is the first thing I'm starting. And so if you're farther north of me, then you can kind of go back a little bit, you know, wait a week or two. And if you're farther south than me, no, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. If you're farther north than me, you probably need to start it sooner than later. And if you're farther south than me, you can kind of cut by a week or so and just kind of give yourself a break. You know, the farther south you are, if you're in like Florida or something like that, Texas, you can obviously wait a little bit. But go by your start date, your first frost date, count back probably 3 to 4 months, and that's when you need to be starting your seeds for fall. That's right, at least your first seeds. So think about that. That's crazy to think about, but it's just like spring. How many of us are excited to put our tomatoes in the pots and we get them started way too early and we have giant plants? Same thing now. I'm not saying wait, because the difference is you have that lower sun angle, so you're gonna have longer grow season. So just think about that.